Welcome to aminacademy.com. In cognitive psychology, let us discuss about perceptions, processes, and theories. Cognitive psychology refers to the process of investigating one's ability to perceive, learn, remember, think, reason, and understand. Role of perception in cognitive psychology. Perception, as a subdomain of cognitive psychology, performs the task of allowing people to experience their environment. It involves seeing familiar objects, smelling the aroma of meals, feeling the touch of objects, and hearing the sound of music in one's environment. In this regard, it can be observed that perception allows one to interact with his or her environment through having a conscious experience with the object and people in that environment. Essentially, perception performs the role of enabling one to have a conscious interactions with his or her environment. Another role of perception is to establish how stimuli from the world interact with one's sensory organs. This involves forming olfactory, auditory, tactile, gustatory, and visual representation of the environment. Perception also tries to explore the function of sensory organs in order to establish how they process sensory information. In addition, it explores the methods through which accurate interpretation of subjects can be obtained. Conclusively, cognition entails several such domains, namely perceptions, learning, remembering, thinking, reasoning, and understanding. It explores one's ability to acquire and apply information and knowledge. Perception is a very significant subdomain of cognition. It enables one to interact actively with his her environment. In addition, it creates one's environment. Perception has the role of constructing subjective analysis of one's environment. Perception play the role of enabling one to experience his environment. It enables one to see, touch, hear, taste, and smell stimuli in the environment. In essence, it gives one an opportunity to interactions consciously with his her environment. Moreover, it establishes interactions between stimuli and sensory organs. These roles are permitted by two main methods, namely bottom up and top down processes. While the former plays the role of connecting information, the latter plays the role of seeking and extracting sensory information based on goals, knowledge, beliefs, and expectations. Now, let us discuss further detail about perception, process, and theories. Cognitive psychology explores how we perceive, attend, think, and remember. Perception, a core cognitive process involving interpreting sensory information to create a meaningful understanding of the environment. Theories like bottom up processing, top down processing, and Gestalt principles help explain how we perceive the world. While the pandemonium model offers a computational perspective on pattern recognition. Cognitive process in perceptions, bottom up processing. Look at this top down comprehension, phrase processing, word processing, letter processing, feature processing. Bottom to top is reversal. This approach suggests that perception is driven by sensory input where basic features are combined to form a more complex perceptions. For example, recognizing a letter involves seeing lines and curves, then recognizing pattern to form the letter shape according to study.com. Top-down processing. This theory proposes that prior knowledge, expectations, and context influence how we interpret sensory information. For instance, if you are expecting a specific type of food, you might be more likely to perceive its taste and smell in a certain way. Gestalt principles. These principles like proximity, similarity, and closure describes how our minds naturally group and organize visual elements, impacting how we perceive objects and pattern. Ecological theory, James Gibson. Gibson's theory emphasizes the directness of perceptions, suggesting that our senses provide sufficient information for us to interact with the environment without needing complex processing or interpretation. The ecological theory of perceptions, developed by James J. Gibson, posits that perception is a direct process of extraction information from the environment rather than a construction based on internal representations. It emphasizes the interplay between an individual and their surroundings, focusing on how the environment affords opportunities for action. Pandemonium model. This computational model proposes a hierarchical system of processing where different domains, image, feature, cognitive, analysis, sensory input, and work together to identify patterns and objects. This pandemonium model, proposed by Oliver Selfridge in 1959, is a cognitive model that explains how humans recognize patterns and objects. It uses a metaphorical demons to represent different levels of processing in the brain working in a hierarchical and interactive manner to analyze visual stimuli. The model is considered a feature matching theory where the brain breaks down an image into its basic features to identify it. Information processing model. This model views perceptions as a series of stages where sensory information is processed, stored, and retrieved. Levels of processing models. This model suggests that the depth of processing during perceptions affects how well information is remembered, with deeper processing leading to better memory. Factors affecting perceptions. Some factors really affect the perceptions. First one, sensory limitations. Damage to sensory organs or pathways can impair perceptions. Attention. Selective attention allows us to focus on relevant stimuli while ignoring distractions. Memory. The past experience and knowledge influence how we interpret new information. Contact. The situation surrounding a stimulus can affect our perceptions of it. In a sense, we can say perception is a complex interplay of bottom up and top down processes influenced by individual factors and the surroundings environment, all contributing to how we make sense of the world around us. So far, we discussed about in cognitive psychology about perceptions, processes, and theories. We have that. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.